Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Hard Pressed. My name is Aisha, and thank you so much for being here. Life update. I am on my third week of my master's program. It's tough. I know I said this last time. I'm overwhelmed in the best way because I know I'm working towards what I really want to do. So that's super exciting. But it's definitely a hard transition learning how to navigate being a full time student, working part time, getting another part time job, exercising, being good to myself, all the good things. How dare I take care of myself? Um, but yeah, otherwise, can't complain for the most part. I'm just tired. I'm tired. I took a fat nap before this. I crashed on the couch. Woke up not knowing what day it was, but here we are. Today, I actually want to talk about me and my journey, but for a specific reason, and you'll know why. Now, before I get into it, I'm going to be that person. If you're here and you haven't liked it, liked this podcast, subscribed, followed, you know what to do. We're on Instagram at hardpress.podcast, and we're on YouTube. TBD on Apple Podcasts because I think I broke it. We'll see. We'll figure it out. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my journey and how I came to be right here, because this was not part of the plan. How things turned out for me versus what I had planned for myself, because I think that's a topic we don't. Well, I lie. I don't know. That's an umbrella statement. I was going to say that I actually don't know, but I think it's something important to talk about because I feel like so many of us go through limbo of not knowing what you're doing with your life. And we become so hard on ourselves when life doesn't work out the way we want it to. So I got my undergrad at Virginia Tech. And when I went into college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had discovered a passion for fitness. My brother and I, like my brother got super fit during high school. And then my senior year of high school, I became obsessed with fitness. But I actually never thought about making it a career. So when I got to college, no clue what I wanted to do. I was in like the general studies major, like every freshman goes through when they're trying to figure it out. And then I initially was like, "Ooh, wildlife conservation. That sounds super, super interesting and very cool. And I want to live on a safari." Then there was a class about scat, which is a fancy word for poop. And I just was like, I don't know if I see myself learning about this. But we pivoted. I then decided to study my passion, which at the time was health and fitness, which is still one of my biggest passions. So I got my bachelor's of science with a concentration of nutrition and exercise. And I graduated in 2017. In 2016, I met my ex and we started dating. And initially, I didn't really know what I was going to do after school. I was going to go back to where I was living before, and I went to high school and, be closer to family. But then I ended up staying in the area I went to school with because that's where my partner at the time was working. And not knowing what to do, I decided to become a nanny because I was babysitting throughout college here and there. And I always loved babysitting. So I decided to become a nanny at the time, she was about 3 months old when I started working with this cutie patootie. Now, before I even continue on this story, let me preface by saying that my plans at this, like before all this happened, was to be married with kids by at least my first kid by 25. My parents had me at, my mom was 25 when she had me, and I'm the youngest of four. And I wanted to be a young parent. I thought it was so cool that my parents grew up kind of with us at the same time. And I just wanted to be young with my children so I can be active and have the energy to do all that stuff with them that they want to do and keep up with them. So I was like, okay, well, if I want to have my first kid by 25, then I need to be married by 23. Um, Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. That's okay. So I became a nanny after college. And let me tell you, when I mean that's birth control, it is birth control. Don't get me wrong, I freaking loved it. I loved the kid I worked with. She was amazing. I had her for a year. I had her from when she was 3 months till a month and 3 months, until she went to daycare. Now, I was super hard on myself when I wasn't sure what to do, and when I became a nanny. I kind of saw myself of like, wow, you got your bachelor's to become a nanny, and some people around me had those same feelings. So I was very low at the time, fell into really deep depression because of how I perceived myself for being a nanny and the sentiments I had from it. Um, and I felt, yeah, I just kind of felt like I went to school for nothing, essentially. And all my friends had moved out of the area, so I was pretty isolated being in this job. The only person I knew was my ex, and uh, I didn't really make much friends. I nannied, and the mom of the baby I nannied for is a doctor, and we talked a lot, and I just kind of loved hearing her stories, her experiences being a doctor, and just her interactions, hearing about how she interacts with patients and everything like that. So it spiked my interest in the field, and I fell in love. I already loved the human body, and I thought like this would be the perfect way for me to just learn more about the human body and help people, because that's something I knew I wanted to do. So after nannying, I became a medical scribe because I needed to beef up my med school resume, for a lack of better phrase, and prepare for the MCAT. For those of you who don't know the MCAT, it's the entrance exam to get into medical school. It's very comprehensive. It's very disgusting. But I studied for the MCAT during the time I was a medical scribe and took it, failed it, bad. I mean, there's not really a failing grade, but there is. Most schools have a number that they want you to reach, and I didn't do well. Granted, I didn't know how to study. I had such a hard time learning the content because it's stuff I really wasn't interested in, and it's just a super comprehensive exam. So failed it, super bummed, and I wanted to do it again, go through the process of studying for it, retake the MCAT so I can apply to schools. So I was a medical scribe from about, I think, like 2018 until 2020. I moved to Eastern Virginia in 2020, like maybe 3 weeks before the pandemic hit. I started a new job as a medical assistant in dermatology, which was really funny because I never wanted to work in dermatology. Skin grossed me out. But now I still work in dermatology, obsessed with everything skin, and love everything about it, and even thought I was going to be a dermatologist or an ENT. But I was studying for the MCAT again and going through that process, and it was pretty grueling, and I found myself just procrastinating and avoiding studying because I didn't want to fail again. But around like the winter of 2021, my ex and I were on a trip overseas and with visiting family. I just had to I had some moments of self-reflection of wondering like, why do I want to become a doctor? I do want to help people, but there's so many ways to do that. I wanted to be a surgeon. I mean, that's not still out of the question for me. Who knows, when I'm a middle-aged woman and like my kids are grown up, when I have them, like maybe I'll do it. Who knows? But I was so fascinated about being in the OR and becoming a surgeon, and it was kind of a prestige thing. Like I wanted to be of higher status, and ultimately when I was thinking about it, because I remember the feeling I would get when somebody asked, like, what are you doing? What's your plan? What are you doing with your life? And I was just like, I'm going to medical school. I'm going to become a doctor. I remember the praise I would get for it. And I really liked that. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll keep doing that because I want to continue to experience that feeling. And after reflecting, I knew that that feeling is not going to hold me through the grueling process of medical school and residency. It was not. Um, so I had to change my plan because I knew I didn't want to go through that process, and I didn't want to delay having kids anymore. My partner at the time was 8 years older than me, so I was very cognizant of that age gap, and I didn't want to delay his timeline, nor did I want to delay my timeline anymore. So after some reflecting, I decided to go with the physician assistant or PA route. So in 2022, I started applying to PA schools. And also during that time, that long-term relationship I was in ended. So I moved back to Eastern Virginia, lived with my best friend, Sarah, and tried to navigate through life. And I got a new job working remotely because I wanted, still in the dermatology field, but I wanted to get more of a leadership position down the line. So I was working remotely, fresh out of a breakup, and applying to PA schools. Whew, what a time. Applied to PA schools, and that fall, and I think spring of 2023, I think I applied to 8 schools. Yeah. I got rejected to every single one of them. All 8. And boy, does your ego get shot when you get rejected that many times. And I just had to think, like, do I really want to do this again? Granted, PA applications are expensive. I think I spent over $500 on those applications alone. And that's not even the school. And I had to think long and hard of, like, do I want to do this process again? Do I need to be in the medical field? It's specifically like, being a PA or a doctor. Should I go with a nursing route? And none of that appealed to me at the time, and I just had to remind myself there's other ways to help people. And I remember when the first seed of therapy was planted in me. I was talking to Sarah's mom. I don't even remember the conversation, but she looked at me and she said, "Have you ever considered being a therapist?" I was just like, huh, no, I have not. So that's where it was planted. And the therapist I was seeing at the time also mentioned it. He had me take a Myers-Briggs personality exam, and the personality type that I am pulled up. Like, it was funny, like when I was talking about profession, it says like you'd be a good profession for counseling, healthcare, and something else. So that was like another seed planted in me of like, maybe therapy is the way to go. And again, my last therapist was saying like that actually be a really good field for you from what I'm hearing. And my current therapist, same thing. So I was like, you know what? Let me apply to it. Let me apply to the counseling degree, like the university here that does have a counseling degree. I missed the deadline initially. I was supposed to, I missed the deadline because I had it wrong on my calendar. So then I had to push that out a bit. Didn't go as planned once again, but then applied, and in March of this year, I got my acceptance letter that I made it into the program. And I got my acceptance letter on March 15th, and then on March 22nd, my love bug proposed, and I get married next year, and I'm in my graduate program working towards something I believe I was put on this earth for. I genuinely believe that my God-given talent is to make people feel good about themselves and really show them how important they are and the good that they can bring into this world. Because I'm hoping that doing that will make them kinder individuals and kinder to those around them, and just so that way we can have a kinder world, as cheesy as it sounds. But that's what I want. That being said, it is obvious that life did not turn out the way I wanted. I was not married by 23, haven't had a kid yet. But I'm on the way. Not pregnant, but on the way to marriage. But the reason I'm sharing this with y'all is because it is so easy to plan out your life exactly how you want it to, but then get so bogged down on the details when it doesn't go the way you planned, and you become so much negative towards yourself, and you really put yourself down. I had to learn to give myself grace because although I had a plan, God had other plans, and ultimately that plan is usually way better. Actually, not usually, it is better. So I know it's so easy, especially like when you're comparing yourself to your cohort, like the people around you who are going through similar things. Like I was constantly comparing myself during this phase to my college girlfriends because they had all left. They all started their big girl jobs and doing great things, and making more money than I was ever making. And it was just so easy to compare myself and feel like tell myself I'm a loser and that I'm not doing anything with my life. And I'm not going to lie, I sometimes still have those feelings. But I've learned to give myself grace and remind myself that my timing is exactly how it's supposed to be. I will get married. I will eventually have babies, and things will work out the way they're supposed to, and usually it's for the good. But one thing that was crucial during this time was learning how to pivot. Don't get me wrong. I had my wallowing moments, my depressed moments, moments that I didn't think I would amount to anything, but there was no other option. I had to pivot. I had to find another way to accomplish my purpose. So during those moments, it's so important for you to learn to pivot. Learn to find another plan and learn to bring your purpose to other means and finding another way to accomplish it. And learn to give yourself grace in those moments and know that, remind yourself I don't know how to tell you to give yourself grace. I can give you tips, which is just reminding yourself that your timing is the way it's supposed to be and that it's perfect and you are exactly where you need to be in this moment or in that moment. But you do need to learn to pivot. And I know I've said that a lot already, but it's how I became to be here. I never thought I would be making a podcast because this is not something that's in my nature. Putting myself out there is not something I would do. I still am afraid, but was more so afraid of failing before. Like it was so daunting to me. I didn't want to fail. I think even just not doing well on the MCAT heightened that even more because when I fail, I automatically and I'm sure anybody can relate to this. When I fail, I automatically just say like I can't amount to anything. Like I just am negative towards myself on all counts, on all fronts. But I also know that nothing changes, nothing changes. If I have certain goals I want for myself, if I want to achieve certain things, I need to do things a different way and put myself out there. And this is one thing, this is how I'm doing it. Podcasts, like I said, is nothing, I don't like putting myself out there, and here I am doing it. So don't let life changes, things not going as planned, prevent you from finding another way to actualize your purpose. I think this is one way for me to actualize my purpose. I think sharing my experience, providing information I think could be useful for anybody is one way to help you watching this see the potential in yourself and see the good you can bring to the world. So I hope this helps out in some shape or form. Know that you are exactly where you need to be and that your path doesn't need to be compared to anybody else's. Everyone's on their own journey, figuring it out for the most part as well. I know social media is so easy to get bogged down and compare yourself to somebody else doing that is more successful, making more money, doing more luxurious things. I do that myself. But in due time, however my life is supposed to pan out it's going to work out. So give yourself grace in those moments and try not to compare yourself to somebody else's journey, especially when they're doing something you want to be doing. Don't do that. Just focus on your journey and trajectory and keep working towards what you want to be. And keep working towards what you want to accomplish. But I hope this helps, and I hope that you give yourself grace during this time of uncertainty, and know that it's going to work out, but pivot if it doesn't to something else. I really appreciate the support and love that I've been getting. This podcast, Hard Pressed Community, has been very important to me. The community of like 4 or 5 people, but I'm super, super, super appreciative of y'all. But we're going to grow. In due time, we're going to grow. And if it doesn't, I'm still probably going to do this because I enjoy it. But thank you guys so much for being here. Do something good for yourself today. Do something good for your brain. And just take care of you. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.